oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
am I dreaming? Like, what? If I walk out and I'm like shaking and like hand it to him and I'm like,
Welcome to the Infertility Club. I'm super excited for our special guest, Angie White. Hi, Angie.
hi,
Thank you so much for being here today.
thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. This is great.
Oh, I'm so excited. Angie and I were just chatting a little bit, and I was sharing how I found her on Instagram, and I loved how she was sharing about her fertility journey and just had such a positive outtake on it. And she's been through so much in this realm, and I'm just grateful she's here and open to sharing her story.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. How's your day going?
It's great. Feeling great. Got my
Oh,
6-month-old sleeping and my other little girl's at a sitter.
oh, well, thank you so much for making those arrangements for us. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely.
Oh, oh, well, let's dive into it. What has your fertility journey looked like for you? How's that been?
It's been a roller coaster. At the highest high and the lowest low. And we were a couple that didn't know we were going to have issues. I know some people have some, know ahead of time, like PCOS or they've endometriosis, things like that. We had no idea. So we started trying for a baby the month that we got married, which was October 2020. And it just wasn't happening, but I just almost had this gut feeling too, and no one in my family other than my older stepsister, who's not even blood related, had issues. Like, my
Mhm,
mom had 4
mhm.
girls, identical twins, like but I just had this
Wow.
gut feeling, I don't know, but so August, I made an appointment with the doctor, and I saw the PA, and I was due for an annual anyways. So she did like a basic panel, said, "It hasn't been a year since you've been trying, but we'll do a panel and then we're going to check and confirm ovulation this month. And then if you're not pregnant by November, come back and see one of the physicians." Okay. So did the panel, blood work came back great, checked ovulation, my numbers were great. And so November rolls around, not pregnant. And I see the physician and she's like, blood look blood work looks great, but there's one test she didn't run and it's your AMH, which is
Mm,
it's basically the um egg count you have left pretty much.
okay.
So she's like, we're gonna run that and see what that looks like. And when it's paired with your FSH, which is the quality of your eggs. If your FSH is high and your AMH is low, that kind of is a bad sign. Just like I think everything's gonna be great. Your FSH is a little higher, but it could be totally normal if your AMH is normal. Okay.
Mhm.
Blood work comes back, AMH is way below normal, like drastically low. Um, so of course I have
That's
to wait.
tough.
She messages, says she wants to do an ultrasound.
Mhm.
Go in and she's like, this, okay, now we have a problem. Like, your quality and the quantity are bad. So your quality of your eggs are bad and the quantity, and very poor bedside manner. I remember the comment perfectly. She said, you are basically have the reproductive system of a 48 to 50-year-old woman heading into menopause. And I was like, okay. Did an ultrasound and came back and said, you have a bunch of large, at the time, I think she called them chocolate cysts, but she's like, chocolate
Hmm.
cysts, we need to do a laparoscopic surgery. Go in, take them out. They're in your ovaries, and then you'll probably need fertility treatment.
Wow.
So I was just devastated, had no idea that I had any issues.
Mhm.
Regular cycle, all the things. So call my husband and he's like, I think we need a second opinion. I don't think you should do surgery sometimes without a second opinion. So we get one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Through family, we were able to get in really quick with another practice, saw him, and he kind of did the opposite. He was like, I don't think that, because she had also said, I think you have endometriosis. So he's like, I don't think you have that. I don't think you need surgery. We're going to do the opposite. I'm going to put you on a round of Clomid with active cyst and everything. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And that was January. So
Mhm.
did a round of Clomid, and by pretty much close to the end of the cycle, I was in excruciating pain. Like, went in, did an ultrasound, and basically I had a bunch of follicles from the Clomid that I did not ovulate. So Clomid kind of did the opposite, didn't make me ovulate. They all got stuck, turned into cysts. So,
That sounds so painful.
he's one of those doctors that's just a little older, probably doesn't like deep dive in before he walks in your room. And he's like, oh, this is a sign of probably PCOS. And I was like, no, remember, it's low number, low eggs, stuff like that. So
Mhm.
he's like, I'm gonna go ahead and send you to fertility clinic. I said, okay. And so the previous doctor had said, you'll probably need donor eggs when you do fertility treatment. He said the
Mm,
same thing. Like with a number like that, you're going to need donor eggs. Your
mhm.
husband can still be fertilized him.
Mhm.
So we're just racking our brains after that, like,
Yeah.
waiting on that consultation appointment, which was scheduled in March. And
Mhm.
my husband and I are not meeting eye to eye. He is like, I want to do adoption. And I'm like, well, I want the chance to be a mother and like grow a baby and all those things. Like, I want to do donor eggs. And he's like, I'm not for it. And these are conversations you don't think to have before you get married. Like, no one
Yeah,
expects this to be your outcome. So, that's
totally.
devastated, and he's like, let's just have our consult and see where we go. So we meet with
Mhm.
the lady. It's, after COVID, so everything's virtual. She
Okay.
reviews medical history and she's like, you know, I think first doctor's a little right. I think you have some endometriosis. Your AMH is low. Your egg count is low. The quality's probably not good. Um, you do not have PCOS. You do not need to be on metformin meds, all this stuff. Like, stop all that. And she's like, but I'm glad you didn't do the laparoscopic. Sometimes that can make it worse if you have
Mm,
already a low egg
interesting.
count. So
Mhm.
she's like, let's dive in. IUI is not a good option for you when you dive straight to IVF. But I do
Wow.
think we have a chance of getting a couple eggs of your own that would be good if you want to invest and you want to try. And I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. So we did it. So come April, meds are ordered, they come in. I
Mhm.
mean that they hand that bill to you and you're like, whoa.
Yeah,
We ended
it's
up doubling that
shocker.
at the end of it. Like we ended up I remember seeing
Really?
like 20 something grand and being like, oh gosh, and then like meds are separate and we ordered extra meds and genetic,
Mhm.
all of that. Like it just racks up so quick and it's just like
So
they make it
quick,
sound like
so
pennies and
quick.
then you're like, where are we gonna pull all this money from? Um,
Right? Yeah, it's a lot. It's a big financial burden
But
for
you do
so
it because
many.
you know you want it, and this was the option we finally dove into because we were like, we had the money to do one or the other. We're
Yeah,
high, but
let's go
this
for
doesn't
it.
work, we might not have children.
Mhm.
So we did it, meds are ordered, and cycle starts, and they call and they say, "Start the birth control, and then we'll
Mhm.
bring you in on day 4 or 5." So I do. Day 1, immediate pain. It's, like, down in my lower left
Oh.
side, like, hunched over pain. I'm like, "Something's
Oh my
wrong. This is
goodness.
not good." So I'm, like, diving into these Facebook support groups, trying to get answers. Of course, it's a weekend. I can't just call the clinic and be like, "Something's wrong." Um,
Oh.
so come Monday, I call, and they're like, "Let's bring you in." So, giant cyst, massive cyst, which I had already gone for a baseline, and there was nothing in my ovary. She's like, "It's the size of your ovary inside of your ovary." And
Oh my
so
gosh.
I'm, like, diving into these groups, and she's like, We can't start meds, we can't start your stem cycle until this is gone. Like, you just
Oh.
hopefully it goes with your next period, we'll see." And I was like, "Okay." So I
Mhm.
dive in these groups, and I find, like, 2 women in a group of, like, 50,000 people that had the opposite effect where birth control caused a massive cyst for them.
Oh my
And so
goodness.
I was like told my husband, I was like, "I have to advocate for myself, like, when we can start, I don't wanna do the birth control because like, these are
Mhm.
2 women where it was the opposite effect. It made their hormones shoot through the roof and cysts happened.
Mhm.
So it took 3 months to get rid of that cyst. We did I did, like, home remedies, like castor oil pads, I was doing everything and
Mhm.
miss like coming off the birth control, like thought it was a new period. It wasn't. Like I was in that clinic
Mhm.
and that was racking up even more because none of that was part of like this bundle plan that we paid for.
Oh my goodness,
Meanwhile,
yeah.
ads are just sitting in the fridge, like, they're gonna expire soon. because they're only good for a certain
Mhm.
amount of time. So
Yeah.
finally, she's like, let's do a trigger shot, force you to ovulate, and maybe that'll push it out. And it did. So that was April. So July, we get the call, we go in for a scan. Cyst was so small, like it just made it smaller. And estrogen levels were still higher than she wanted, but they were low compared to what they were. So she's like, let's start your stem cycle, start all the meds. Everything's going great. I just had a very long stem cycle. So we ended up having, like, she called and was like, we need to order more meds. And it was like trying to overnight them and panicking. And
Ugh,
so I
so
think my
stressful.
first stem cycle was like 28 days. Cause you go into
Wow.
monitoring every 2 to 3 days and they kind of call, which is part of the
Mhm.
roller coaster. And like the shots were the easy
Mhm.
part, waiting on a doctor or nurse to call you to give your just your daily results. Or my husband would go sometimes,
Yeah.
he'd be like, I see 1, 2, 3 follicles. And I'm like, stop, stop. Like,
Yeah.
wait,
Yeah.
and you're just anxiety sitting there waiting on that call every 2 to 3 days.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
that probably was the hardest part of IVF for me, is the anxiety of waiting on those calls and the waiting game and not
Mhm.
knowing what they're going
Yeah.
to say. So end it. I had 3 follicles that were measuring,
Okay.
go in, do the trigger shot, go in for the egg retrieval. And I got lucky. I know at my clinic, it was
Mhm.
whichever doctor in the clinic's on call is the one that does your egg retrieval.
Okay.
So I got lucky that it was my doctor that was on call. She was there. So do the egg retrieval. They retrieved all 3. Got the call the next day, 1 fertilized. And
Wow.
I'm like, man, like she said in my consult, like we could get like 7 or 8 in a egg
Uh-huh.
retrieval, and the numbers drop each day.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not good. So she calls and she's like, I don't want you to lose hope. I don't want you to come out of this. We need to do another retrieval and change in protocol meds.
Mhm.
Let's go ahead and freeze this or this egg at day 1 at fertilizing.
Okay.
And she's like, and then we'll thaw it next cycle or next egg retrieval, and we'll let it grow with the other ones. I don't want you to be empty handed. Or you can stick with the plan, let it keep going, see if it makes it to day 5. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
let's stick with the plan. If it doesn't,
Mhm.
it's fine. Got the call on day 5. It made it at one single
Oh,
for so it made it. So they said it was frozen, sent it to genetic testing. And so
wow.
like, great. And then that's a very long wait if you do genetic testing. It's like 10 to 14 days of waiting on the results.
Wow. That is super long.
And only to have one, you're just like, yes. So finally get the call, and that our doctor's like, good news, bad news. And I was like, oh gosh, what?
Mhm.
And so there is a new research with IVF and embryos, and it's called mosaicism. And it's basically either a deletion in a chromosome or an addition in a chromosome. And outside of, Down syndrome and those specific ones, Turner syndrome, things like that, they have found that sometimes when they transfer these, they will self correct and
Okay.
you birth a normal, healthy, happy baby.
Mhm.
Or if there is something wrong with it and it doesn't self correct, then you miscarriage or miscarry, it doesn't implant along those lines. I dove into research with that.
Yeah.
And it's really cool actually to like see where it's going and what these doctors are doing with it, and kind of just
Yeah.
seeing in all these healthy babies that are born, and you're just like, wow, like years ago they were like discarding these embryos thinking that something was wrong, and these could have been healthy babies for people. So it gave us
Yeah.
hope. It was our option. We knew at
Mhm.
that point in time she had told us the gender, because when you do
Mhm.
genetic testing. And so she's like, just want to assure you it has nothing to do with the gender chromosome. So and she kind of told us like it's a boy, and we were like, okay, that's fine.
Oh.
So we freeze it. I'm doing diving into research again. That's what I did every
Mhm.
day, just Facebook support groups, finding these women that all this stuff had happened to, instead of Google and all that. So dive straight into another stem round the next cycle. So I think 6 days
Mhm.
later, I got my next period, dove straight in. Meds were already ordered,
Wow.
and I did Clomid again, which terrified me.
Yeah, yeah,
with
from past
Clomid.
experience. Yeah, you had
Yeah,
reason to be scared. Yeah.
right. Ended up being a long, like, stem cycle again. I think it was 28, 29 days, but I had
Oh my goodness.
8, mature follicles.
Wow,
So
that's
go
exciting.
in, yeah, so it was great. It was better outcome. I was thrilled. I'm like, if that one made it, then at
Mhm.
8, we have good numbers. So do the egg
Yeah,
tape,
yeah.
get the call the next day, 5 fertilized. I'm like, this is great. Like cloud 9. And day 5, I get the call and it's my nurse. And she's like, unfortunately, only one fertilized or only one made it to the embryo stage. Day 5, the other ones didn't make it. Like, how? Like, how?
Yeah.
And then it just goes back to
Mhm.
the quality and the quantity. Like, the
Mhm.
quantity was just, and you're reading all these stories of women getting 20 and 30
Mhm.
and getting, 10 normal embryos back. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And I'll go
Yeah.
back to this why it was just a blessing that this is what happened with us. But we freeze it, wait the long 10 to 14 days. We get the call and it's comes back and it's normal and it's a girl. And, the
Oh.
doctor's like, we can do another round or we can
Mhm.
start preparing for transfer. And I was like, I'm done.
Mhm.
Not doing any more rounds. My
Yeah.
in-laws even offered to, like, pay for another retrieval, and I was like, "Nope, it's too much."
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, did it back to back. Let's go for
Mhm.
what we have. And so meanwhile, I'm back and forth being a typical woman, and I'm like, "Maybe I can find a job." Like, or I, like, did all this research where, like,
Yeah.
jobs like Amazon and, like, tractors, random
Mhm.
places that day 1 of hire, your benefits start, and
Totally.
cover
Yeah.
fertility, and so I'm like, "Okay, maybe I'll just get a job quit my job, and I'll get a job
Mhm.
at Amazon, and if we need
Mhm.
that, we have it in our back pocket."
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Which was smart, though. That's smart to look at
I
those
look
things
down, yeah,
because
because I do all this research and people are like, they tell you the numbers and they tell you how quickly it drops, and they're like, "You need 4 to 5 embryos banked to hopefully get 1 or 2 live births." So I'm like, "Oh my god, shoot, like,
Mhm.
what are my chances?" But I also kept coming across all these stories of women saying you only need 1, and
Mhm.
I was like, "That's all, just give me 1 baby." Like, I
Yeah.
am supposed to be a mom though, like, please just give me 1 baby. And
Mhm.
so because of the endometriosis and this, the back-to-back stem cycles and all of that, my body was so overstimulated and my ovary, everything. So she's like, let's do 3 months, let everything calm down. We'll do a low dose injection birth control
Okay.
and like kind of trick your body into thinking everything's just calm. Hesitant,
Mhm.
but I did it. And so
Mhm.
we were very open, told all of our family every detail, everything we were doing, and then at this point, we knew our transfer date was gonna be November 7th, and we did not tell a soul. We're like, "We don't want anyone
Oh.
calling and asking if
Yeah.
it doesn't work."
Mhm.
And then we're like, and we kinda wanna surprise people, so we told everyone it was gonna be after Christmas. So,
Oh.
November 7th, we go in, which was the easiest and best appointment, like, the transfer is I don't know what you I thought it was the best.
Me
Like,
too.
I
I know,
already
I was
the
like,
doctor
get these
there.
babies back in me."
Yeah, embryologist is there, and I was just like I think the only uncomfortable thing was the whole bladder, like, I was just like, "This is amazing, it's happening." We
Right.
did all the things, they're just like, good luck things, like, go to McDonald's after and eat the fries, and it's good luck, so we did everything, came home, relaxed, and then lived life like normal, and my husband had said, "All I'm asking is that you wait until 6 days later to test if you're gonna test at home ahead of time before." I think our clinic did a 10-day beta draw.
Okay.
Okay. So day 6, he's doing something in the garage. I'm like, "I'm just gonna go do it. I don't want him to
Like,
know.
I
I
gotta
don't want him to
know.
be there waiting. I'm so anxious." Keep in mind, I've never
Oh.
seen the 2 pink lines. Like, it's just
Mhm.
something I never thought would happen, and sat it down,
Mhm.
walked away, came back, and there it was, like, 2, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it worked." Like, I was just bawling my eyes
Oh.
out. I go up to him, I just show him. Like, I had all these cute, like, just telling my husband one day, and, like, they were all out the door. I was just like, Look, like, it worked." So, go in for the 10-day
Oh.
draw and get the call, and she's like, "You're pregnant, your numbers are actually really high." So the it, like, definitely implanted. We're not worried about a chemical, all that. So, awesome.
That's so exciting.
So, we announced to family at Thanksgiving time, which was only, like, 5 weeks and something. We announced to, like, close family, just letting them know, like, "Hey, we tricked you guys. It worked. We are pregnant."
Surprise.
Yeah.
That's so cute. I bet they
Because they
were
knew
so
everything. They
excited.
knew we only had the 2 embryo they knew every detail. So,
Mhm.
I remember that next day after we announced, I wake up and I'm bleeding, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So,
Oh my goodness.
I know. So, trying to, like, brush off, it's not much, and I'm like,
Mhm.
digging through my
This
Facebook groups again, and I'm finding stuff either where people are literally like, "That's a miscarriage," or, "No, that's bleeding you spot when you're pregnant," things like that. So, my husband and I ended up going to the ER.
Mhm.
He works at the hospital that is local to us, so he's like, "We got hands on deck, we're good." Um,
Yeah.
they do an ultrasound, and of course, it's too soon to see. It's just the sac and, like, a couple other like, to say that could be a baby
Okay.
there forming, but
Mhm.
too soon for a heartbeat. And they draw my blood,
Mhm.
numbers are still high. And they're like, "We can't tell
Mhm.
you what's going on, but we can see a huge like, a big hematoma." And I was like, "What?" They're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, you have a big hematoma that could be causing the bleeding. Um, just go home, take it easy, follow up with your clinic." So we call and they're like, "We'll see you in a week."
Mhm.
So go in a week. That once again, whole week, I'm just diving down the research hole, like
Mhm.
finding
Yeah.
horror stories of people that did have hematomas and they got too big and bad things
Mhm.
happen, all the things. So get in, they do an ultrasound and there's a heartbeat and our little baby. And I was like, "We're okay." And she's like, "Hematoma shrunk, like you still need to take it easy." But basically she explained it's trauma from like the catheter going in and it's common
Wow.
in IVF. And
Mhm.
she's like 95% of the time they dissolve and go away on their own and do not cause any issues, but it scares people
Mhm.
because you do bleed.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
totally scary. I bled a lot too, and it was terrifying. It's like, "Oh my gosh, am I losing the baby?" Like, it is.
Yes.
It's like you just run through every scenario in your head and just don't know what it's gonna be, and, it is, it's scary.
And meanwhile, I'm like, I have one other embryo frozen and like that, that's all. I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't have a bunch to back up on or fall on
Mhm.
and still convincing myself like this is just not my reality. Like I just don't know if I'm ever gonna have a baby. And so everything ended up great. We got released that day from our clinic. So they released us to our normal OB. Went back, saw the original doctor that we saw that gave us, that referred us, all that. And we were like, "Sick here." I don't
Back
know
at
if
the
he
beginning.
remembered us, like, where you at, we were just like, "It worked, we're pregnant." He was like, "Okay, cool." Like this man delivers babies every day, sees multiple
Oh.
women, but, and
The
everything
the
started
big
going great.
miracle for you guys.
Right, right. We were cloud 9. And then got into second trimester, and about 16 weeks, I start swelling, like,
Wow, 16.
in my feet. Everyone's like, "It's normal." I'm wearing compression socks, but it's like ankles coming out of your shoes, like, and it's fluid, like you can touch and it like dips in.
Wow.
Keep going to doing the checkups with the doctor, and he's like, "Yeah, you need to get in a pool. Like your body's holding on to fluid, it'll fluctuate." And I don't even look like myself. I'm like like so puffy and swollen, and it's starting to travel. It's like up into my knees. And sleeping at night, it would move. So I would wake up and, like, my face would be swollen, like, I would have, like, puffy bags,
Oh my
my
goodness.
hands, like, everything would be swollen, and as I would get up and walk around, it'd travel back down. And, like,
Oh,
something's not
wow.
right, something so I'm just pushing through, and my in-laws are like, "You don't look good." Like,
Yeah,
I looked
just
sick,
not yourself.
very, very like, I remember going to a friend's house, and she was like, This isn't good. You don't look." And so
Oh,
by
yeah.
25 weeks but everything was great, blood pressure was fine. So he just kept
Wow.
saying, "You're just holding fluid." I'm like, "Okay." So
You're like,
25
"No,
weeks,
it's
I
something
go
else."
in right, and blood pressure is actually elevated this visit, and he's like, "See you back in a week. We're gonna probably put you on some oral, blood pressure medicine." I'm like, "Okay." I have no history of any anything related to this. So,
Mhm.
um, no, I think it was 26 weeks I went, so made it to the following 2 days before the week mark, and I wake up and there's, like, fluid pockets under my eyes. I'm, like, telling my husband, I'm like, "Something's wrong." And he's
Oh my
like, "All right,
goodness.
well, call the doctor, like, I'm gonna go to work, let me know." I'm like, "Okay." So I call. We have a blood pressure cuff here by I don't chance and take it, and I don't even remember what it was, but it was something crazy, and I didn't even know how to read blood pressure then. So I tell the
Mhm.
the nurse and she's like, "Lay down, take it in 5 minutes, let me know." So I let her know and she's like, "Let's bring you in, we'll see the doctor." I'm like, "Okay." Still thinking like, "We'll just do meds, we're gonna be good."
Yeah.
Go in and they take it, it's high, goes down a little, and then he comes in and he's like, I need to send you over to the OB emergency department." And I was like, "What?" Like, "I'm only 27 weeks, what do you mean?"
Yeah, like,
So
what
then
kind of
again, it's like
emergency?
the roller coaster and just like, "Oh my gosh, like something's gonna happen." So get over there and I'm there all day. They're just giving me blood pressure medicine through an IV, trying to get it down. And they get it down and go back up. And my doctor is in like C-sections all day and like delivering babies all day. And they're like, "He should be over soon." So at this point, I think I went in at 10. I had to be there in 30 minutes. I just threw on random clothes, barely brushed my
Mhm.
teeth, like just ran out the door.
Yeah.
By 6, they, like, moved me to a room, and they're like, "You're definitely gonna be here overnight." So he comes
Oh
in,
my
and he's
goodness.
like, "You have, preeclampsia that started early. Sometimes sometimes it just happens. Sometimes it can happen because of IVF, because you're putting a foreign object in your body, and your body's just in shock."
Wow.
"What?" So he's like, "You need to see a specialist too."
Mhm. Oh my
Like an
goodness.
MSM, I think, like fetal medicine, something. So meet
Okay.
that doctor. And she ends up being the one calling the shots over any of
Okay.
so she's like, "You're not going anywhere. We're gonna try to make it
Mhm.
to 34 weeks." And I'm like, "What?" First of all, I have to be
Oh
here
my
that long.
goodness.
Second of all, like, wait, I can't have a no, like, why is this happening? Still thinking like,
Yeah.
"At my baby, like this."
Mhm.
We had a name, like nursery was halfway done. Meanwhile, I never
Oh.
left the hospital again. So like no baby shower, no, I never came back home after that day.
Are you kidding
So I'm
me?
27 weeks to the day that I got admitted and did not come back home. Um, so my husband would
Oh
come home
my
and, like,
goodness.
pack bags. He's, like, FaceTiming me, "The house is a disaster." Like I said, barely brush my teeth. I'm, like, don't have clothes on, and I'm just a roller coaster of emotions, like,
Oh
um
my goodness.
so in our hospital, they have something called the APD, and it's stuff like this, people that, go into labor early or where they need to be monitored. And so she's like, "You're not going anywhere. We're gonna try to make it to 34 weeks, but that's it. You won't go past that."
Oh my
And I'm
goodness.
getting mixed info. You have like an OB telling you one thing, the specialist telling you another, and then the nurse, you're just like, Tell me, give me info. Like, what's going on?" So
Yeah.
on 2 different kind of meds, and basically they explained, like, the dosages can go up a couple times, but once you max out on them, you're maxed out, and
Mhm.
we had to take the baby, and this is what starts happening, which luckily in my situation, I think with preeclampsia, it affects the mom and the baby. My baby
Mhm.
was thriving. They would come in
Okay.
every 2 to 3 days and do scans, and she was scoring high on all the scans, like, thriving.
Wow. That's
So it was
good.
just affecting me, and I remember
Mhm.
asking the doctor, like, "What?" And he's like, "This is your personal body rejecting the baby, but your
Oh my
baby is doing
goodness.
fine." So people that, like, sometimes naturally conceive and get preeclampsia, it affects both. But
Interesting.
this is he's like, "This is why I think that maybe your body just wasn't ready for something like this, and
Mhm.
for an object, and it's rejecting the object, but the baby's still thriving."
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah. So
Oh my
we're
goodness.
ordering everything on Amazon, like, registry. People are, like, sending gifts. I have friends coming to my house to, like, get my packages, bring them to me just to,
Oh.
like, brighten my
Oh.
day. Like, "Let me see what."
Totally. Has
Yeah,
something to look forward
but we
to.
already knew we would be a NICU stay. So we were like
Okay.
we were prepared for that. That helped a lot.
Mhm. Mhm.
Have the baby or end up having the baby at 31 weeks. I maxed out on all the meds, couldn't get blood pressure under control. So doctor and it's 31 weeks on the day.
Whoa.
So she was 3 pounds, 8 ounces, went straight to the C-section, she went straight to the NICU, um, and, yeah, I met her 24 hours later, and she spent 33 very
Mm.
long days in the NICU, but is
Mhm.
now a 21-month-old thriving toddler. I mean, thriving. She's
Oh.
not delayed, she's not nothing. I mean, she's, like I said, 2 months early pretty much. She's wonderful. So,
Oh, miracles right
yeah.
there.
So we get her home, everything's great. She's, doing great, and that's when everyone starts asking, like, "When are you gonna do baby number 2? This and that." And I'm like, "Look,
Oh.
we have another embryo, but wow, like, look what just happened." Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
How
know
scary.
because we only have one other embryo, but, like, we worked so hard.
Mhm.
I don't wanna
Yeah.
just let it go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, when you do IVF, you have to kind of fill out all this paperwork saying what you do with your
Mhm.
extra embryos. I mean, it's like
Mhm.
20 questions of, like, all the way down to, like, if you get a divorce, who gets
Yeah.
if
Yeah. Yeah.
you and your husband pass away, who's in charge of your embryos? Like,
Mhm.
and you always have to say what you do with them. And I remember
Yeah.
I was crying doing that paperwork, like, discard them or donate them or send them to research. Like, those are my
Mhm.
options. Like, you
I
know,
know, right? Ugh.
and like, what do people do
Yeah.
that have like 20 of them? Like, this is,
Mhm.
and it's such a
Yeah.
different experience because when you're going for that transfer, your embryo's up on a screen and you're like looking at your blob of cells baby that will be a baby. And so I just
Yeah.
remember being like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I worked so hard for those, never
Mhm.
thought I'd be faced with, do I transfer another because of what just happened? Because now
Mhm.
I do have a baby at home to take care of. I can't just be hospitalized
Mhm.
again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, either way, we're gonna wait." Like, and I was
Mhm.
always someone that wanted 2 to 3 years between kids anyways.
Mhm.
So, about 6 months later, which I kind of self-diagnosed myself. I'm like, "I have endometriosis. It's on my
Mhm.
ovaries."
Mhm.
Like, I, at that point, thought I was a doctor and, like, knew what was going on. So, got my cycle back postpartum and started getting pain again
Oh,
in my ovaries, and
no.
I'm like, see my doctor, and he's like, "Let's do birth control. I think it's gonna calm everything down and stop with the flare-ups, all that." I'm like, "Okay." So I
Mhm.
start one, and that was the beginning of November I started. And the whole month of November, I have 3 separate, like, 7 to 8 day bleeds.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so by think the last day in November, I'm like, "I'm gonna stop this. Like, I've been in pain all month.
Mhm.
I've had 3 bleeds. I don't know what's a cycle, what's not." Like, so I had a follow-up, like, I think it was December 9th, something like that. I had a follow-up visit, and I got a 4th bleed. So I call, and I'm like, "Literally, the appointment today, I just started bleeding again, but I stopped birth control. I need him to know that. I need to know what to do." And she's like, "Let's move it. If you stop the birth control, great. Let's move your appointment, though. He's not gonna wanna do, an annual visit." Okay.
Mhm.
So move it to the end of December. I think it was December 28th. So go, and then at that time, I'm, like, addressing postpartum anxiety and the birth control and
Mhm.
all this. So he puts me on a new birth control, puts me on, some anxiety medicine, all this.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so mid-January rolls around, and I'm, like, getting sick, like, drinking coffee and, like, kind of and my husband's like, "Is this the stuff you did with Molly, like, when you're pregnant?" Like, and I was like, "There is a 99% chance I am not pregnant. Like, that's not us. We've heard the stories of people naturally conceiving after all that. That's not us. No, we were told we need donor eggs, that our chances of conceiving naturally were, like, 0 to negative. Like, this is not us."
Yeah.
Like, it's gotta be the birth control, everything going hormones wonky, everything. So a
Mhm.
week goes by, and he's like, we're drinking coffee, and I, like, cough again, and he's like, "Let's just get a test."
Mhm. Oh my gosh.
I
I'm
didn't
like
even put, like, the missed period thing in because I had 4 different ones in
yeah.
a month and a half. So I'm like, "No, I had 4. Yeah, it's gonna be 2 months before I get another period,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I'm on a new birth control." And I
Mhm.
started trying a different one at the end of December. So, sure enough, one night we're at dinner, and he's like, "I'm gonna run over to Kroger and grab them." I'm like, "Okay." My chances are 95 now because I am really
Mhm.
sick, and I was literally
Mhm.
napping. Like, my daughter at the time did 2 naps, so I'm, like, napping both
Mhm.
of those naps. I'm like, "This is not me. I have
Yeah.
energy, like,
Yeah.
I don't nap, like, what?" And I'm exhausted. So there's something telling you, like, ugh. So it was a Saturday morning, and I, like, cough over coffee again, and he's like, "Go take that test." Like, go.
Mhm.
If I take it, don't even think I, like, lifted up to look at it yet, and, like, the left
Yeah.
pregnancy line is already, like, bold and there. Like, hadn't even like, the fluid hadn't even traveled to, like, show the control line, and I was like, "Is this upside down?" Like, and then they're both there,
Oh
and it's
my
like the
goodness.
dye stealer test, like, it's so bold. It's, like, pulling dye from the control line, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
am I dreaming? Like, what?" If I walk out and I'm, like, shaking and, like, hand it to him, and I'm like, "We're gonna have another baby," and he's like, "What?" I'm like, We're gonna," he's like, "You need to write the doctor right now, you're on birth control." And he's like, "How
Yeah.
long?" I'm like, "I have no idea because I don't know. I don't know when
Mhm.
this happened."
Yeah.
Like, "But I'm 7 months postpartum, and I can tell you right now, like, I did not wanna be touched, so I can
Mhm.
probably tell
Yeah.
you when this happened. Like, this is
Yeah.
crazy, though, and we're just in shock." So, of
Yeah.
course, it's a weekend.
Always, always.
Always. So I write the doctor, he writes back, and he's like, "Stop the birth control, see you Monday. Go in." I think urine test confirmed it, and he's like, "We'll bring you back in a week, we'll do an ultrasound." But he's asking, like, "When
Mhm.
was your last cycle?" I'm like, "I don't know," because
Yeah.
all 4 of these leads, they were all the same.
Mhm.
They were all the same amount of time, like, nothing made any of them different, so I don't know what was the birth control, what wasn't. I didn't even know I could ovulate on my own, like,
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure that once I did the math and figured it out, I'm pretty sure I bled after the baby was conceived, like, I'm just
Mhm.
spinning, like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
And meanwhile,
Yeah.
this premature, I mean, she was 7 months, but she's tiny, like, she
Mhm.
looked like she was 5 months, and so I'm like,
Mhm.
What?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so do an ultrasound, and I'm 9 weeks pregnant. So they did
9
weeks later, I'm
weeks?
9 weeks pregnant, and so my husband's, like, doing the math, and he's like, "Oh, that's that holiday party we went to, like, the first night we got a babysitter," and I'm like, "Oh my god,"
Oh.
like, never in a million years. So then I'm in my head, I'm like, "Is the baby gonna be okay?" Because that was an issue with me with everything, like, what we need to do all these extra things to make sure there's nothing genetically wrong, and everything came back 100% normal,
Wow.
like, totally normal. I'm like, "Okay, anatomy scan's gonna like, I just, like,
Mhm.
was just kind of dull. I was just like, This is not our luck. This is
Mhm.
not something that happens to us." Like, and we knew maybe a couple mutual people it had happened to or heard stories, but we're like, "It's not us." Um, Totally know everything's great. So made it to well, they scheduled a C-section for 37 weeks.
Okay.
Um, he was normal, everything was great, but they did it 37 weeks because of the prior C-section and them being so close.
Mhm.
And came out and he was 7 pounds, 8 ounces, like, healthy as he's now 6 months,
Oh.
um, healthy as to
Oh
be.
my goodness.
Remember people asking after my daughter's born, like, would you keep trying naturally?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course, like, we're not gonna
Mhm.
prevent, because if that were to happen,
Yeah.
it'd be great." I don't know if we only
Yeah.
wanted 1 or 2, 3 children, who knows? But I
Mhm.
know that we
Yeah.
had what we thought we'd want one day. So, yeah, we're not gonna prevent it, and the only
Yeah.
reason I was doing the birth control was for the endometriosis. So,
Yeah.
conceived naturally,
Wow.
probably a week and a half after taking stopping birth control, so that was probably still in my system.
Wow.
Um, and all the odds, everything, like,
Yeah.
in that whole year of trying, we did everything. Like, I was doing everything. I'm like, "Let me do a handstand. Let me buy this, let me
Mhm.
buy that, I was doing everything in the world. Let me take these supplements to get pregnant on my own. Nothing. So when I asked her, he's
Wow.
sometimes your body just does it once and it figures it out. So then I'm
Mhm.
like, am I gonna get the preeclampsia?
Mhm.
Nothing. No
Really?
blood pressure issues, not a single. I had a scheduled C-section, went in, was ready to go, nothing wrong.
What a night and day different experience.
Yeah. So then, and this is just like, and like I said, that there's the hope, because I was literally
Mhm.
someone where 2 doctors told me I needed donor eggs,
Mhm.
that I would not be able to get my own eggs, and that my chances of naturally conceiving were just out the door. That's just not part of your plan. It's not going to happen for you. So that all this I was just like, "This can't be real, like, how?"
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
just, like, a perspective to it, like, anything is possible because and I joke with my husband, I'm like, "2 years ago, we were, like, begging, like, please just give us 1 baby." I'm like, "Now we're driving, we got 2 screaming kids in the back seat," and, like, and I remember going into my postpartum visit
Mhm.
and the doctor being like, "Do you wanna talk about birth control?" And I or no, this was prior to having the baby. He said, "What's your plan after this?" And I was like, "I don't know because I worked really hard for this other embryo I have frozen, like,
Mhm.
and now knowing what I know, I'm gonna be the woman that has a little 10-kid army if I don't." But, like, I'm like, I just this is never something I ever imagined happening, like,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
have fallen over if you told me this 2 years ago, like, and,
Oh, totally.
so I'm like, I think maybe we need to be aggressive with natural. So, got my
Mhm.
tubes done,
Yeah.
all that because I was like, I need to give that frozen embryo hope,
Mhm.
and I have 2 children 15 months apart, like, so I'm
Yeah.
like, I need
Yeah.
to and maybe we only want 2, but we agreed we will discuss it. We'll keep paying the storage, and we'll discuss it when we're out of the tiny baby trenches of life, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, like I said, we started IVF July 2021, and we now have 2 babies, a frozen embryo
Wow.
that we are undecided of what to do, which
Mhm.
that never in a million years. So, it's
Oh my goodness.
amazing.
That is amazing. I mean, that is I mean, going from having super devastating news to now, being on the other side of it and having 2 miracle babies,
Right.
that's just absolutely incredible.
And, like, to go back, so, I remember being like I said, being stressed, like, we only have 2 embryos frozen, like, the odds
Mhm.
are not in our favor, like, I just don't think it's gonna go great, and now we're in a situation where I'm like, "We have 1 frozen embryo, what do we do?
Mhm. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
do we do?" Like,
Yeah.
do we want 3 kids? Do we keep what do we do? And I
Mhm.
just I'm like, I remember just being devastated thinking, "I'm never gonna get a healthy baby. I'm never gonna get a baby." Like, I only have 2 frozen embryos, and
Mhm.
everyone says you need more. And now I have 2 healthy babies and a frozen embryo that we'll discuss in the future. But,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's all just crazy. It's a roller coaster.
Oh my goodness. Totally, totally. So when those roller coaster moments were coming and or not coming, when they were happening, what kind of things did you do to help you get through those moments?
I And I remember this specifically because my mother-in-law would, ask she was very good at checking in after, like, monitoring appointment days, like, "How'd it go? Have you heard from the doctor? You heard from the nurse?" Like, I bought an Apple Watch specifically to wear so, like, I wouldn't miss the phone call for when the doctor or nurse called.
Mhm.
Um, but I always knew it was right around lunchtime. And, the ultrasound techs, they don't tell you anything.
Mhm.
So you're just waiting. Um, but if I got bad news or I got news that I remember one day my husband being like, "I only saw, like, 1 or 2 follicles," and I was just crying. And he's like,
Mhm.
"Let's just see what they say." And they called and they were like, "We just gotta keep going with meds, like, none of them are measuring yet. Your body just takes longer." And I remember, "Everything's fine. Why did I spend 4 hours crying waiting on that phone call?" So I
Mhm.
always told myself especially after the cyst, give yourself 1 day to be upset.
Mm. Mhm.
Give yourself 1 day to soak in it, to lay on the couch and cry, to be mad, to be angry, to be sad, to be any kind of emotion, and then don't let yourself wake up the next day and be that way. Just keep being
Mhm.
hopeful.
I love that.
And I stuck with it because I was like, if you keep
Mhm.
soaking in, the bad, and that happened after I got the call where she's like, every
Mhm.
time I thought I'd get a bad call, it ended up being okay. Or,
Mhm.
had all these thoughts of like, something's against you. It's not going to work. Everything ended up being okay. And so I always stuck with that. Like, give yourself the rest of that day or that day
Mhm.
and soak in it. If you want to go drink 4 Coca-Colas, do it. If you want to go eat
Mhm.
a pack
Mhm.
of Debbie cakes, do it. Like, but do
Mhm.
wake up the next day and keep going and be positive. And
Yeah.
because you never know what the results are. And like I said, here we are. Um, and I think that's what got me through. Like
Mhm.
just I read. I also picked up the hobby of reading, and so I would read and read and read
Amazing.
and stay busy and keep that's one thing that I always found that would, like, keep me off my phone and researching,
Mhm. Yeah.
and you're reading a book, so your head's in that space.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think I read probably I went from being a non-reader to, like, reading 50 books in a year during the whole IVF thing because
Oh my
that's what would
goodness.
just keep the thoughts and keep my hands away from my phone and keep me from
Mhm.
talking to anybody and moping
Mhm.
about it. But
Yeah. Yeah, kept your mind
so
busy.
I would
That
just
was
keep my
really
mind
smart.
busy, and I would just give myself the one day, and then I would not allow and my husband would I would be like, don't let me say anything negative. Don't let me if I cry, tell me to go suck it up and get over it." Like, and I did, and that's what I would just stick to it. I'd be like, "Tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah.
Eat whatever you want today. Lounge around, cry if you want, dig through research rabbit holes on your phone, but tomorrow
Uh-huh.
stop and just get it together." And I would.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I think that's really, really good advice. I love that because I think sometimes I don't necessarily let myself feel the emotions sometimes. And then later, all of a sudden, I'm like this explosive mess. And I'm like, oh, if I just would have like taken a second to
Yeah.
like feel everything. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
and
that's really
you're
good.
mad at everyone around you, like, and I remember getting this whole diagnosis and just the infertility world can feel so lonely and you think that you're the only one. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
walking into that clinic for the first time and it being like jam-packed and I was like, "Wow, all these people are here for one specific reason." Like, took us
Mm-hmm.
2 months to get an appointment for one specific reason. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think the world just got like, going through it, I had reached out to random people. One of them, like, the
Mm-hmm.
husband I worked in a restaurant with, like, 15 years ago, and I was just
Mm-hmm.
friends with him on Facebook, and I wrote him one day and was like, "Can I contact your wife?" And, like so I had 2 people that I just
Yeah.
were acquaintances and reached out to them. They
Mm-hmm.
shared their story, and it helped me so much. So I remember being like,
Mm-hmm.
it worked for them. They had ups and downs, roller coasters, and then you slowly start to realize, like, it's actually a whole lot more common than you could ever imagine, even now,
Yeah, it
like,
really is.
but, those were the only 2 people I knew, and I just remember being lonely. I felt at fault. Like, I remember being like, "Gosh, my husband, like, didn't know this about me. I didn't know this about me, but, like, what if I can't give him a baby?" Like, and just
Mhm.
embarrassed. I remember being embarrassed about it, not wanting to talk about it, like, something's wrong with me. I'm not a woman that I should be, like, I can't give, and I had like, none of my sisters, none of my family had any issues other than, like I said, my older stepsister, and she has 3 boys, had them all with medication, so, like, didn't ever have to do the extreme,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
always what they ask you, like, "What's your family's history?" And I was like, people can blink at my sisters and they're pregnant." Like, I don't know, like,
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah.
and now I'm personally, like, helping 3 people. One of them being very, very
Oh.
close friend it's like my husband's childhood best friend, his wife, and them going through the
Oh.
process. But just anytime somebody pops up on Facebook, like, and you didn't know they were doing it, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, IVF babies are the best. Like,
Right?
you're such a strong person." Like, and I just want and like telling the story, like I'm just and you just realize how common it is and nobody should feel alone.
Yeah.
No one should feel at fault. Like, and
Mhm.
I always told my husband, I'm like, "God, you're going through it and your perspective changes and you're like, there's these so many people in the world that like take for granted these healthy, beautiful children they have, whatever the
Mhm.
story may be." And it would make me like angry at them. Like, why? There's so many people that would do anything to have these children and like yours end up in foster, you're just not a good parent, or whatever the situation may be. And I was like, I don't want to be mad at these people, but I am because that's all we want, and my husband and I had the conversation,
Yeah.
like, God chooses I truly think God chooses the strongest women or men,
Mm. Mhm.
to give these issues to because he knows they can go through it, he knows they can handle it, and
Yeah.
they're gonna be really, really awesome parents, because they
Mhm.
went through all this. And I'm like, okay. And that kind of stuck with me. I'm like, it's,
It's really beautiful.
yeah. So, I'm like, we were just chosen to be, and we have the friend that's going through the same thing. 3 sisters, they all have kids, and she knew ahead of time with the endometriosis, so she kind of knew this was coming, but just having really bad luck with IVF right now. And I'm like, just stay hopeful. I know nobody wants to hear it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I texted another friend the other day that's just struggling. She hasn't taken the steps IVF yet, but I'm like, 2
Mhm.
years ago, I never thought, and that's when I said I have 2 screaming babies in the back seat, and, like, I'm smiling about, like, because
Yeah.
you just when I say it's gonna happen, and there is a
Mhm.
plan. But that was the last thing I
Mhm.
wanted to hear in that moment is it's gonna happen, but I'm a testament to show you it's gonna happen, and,
Aw.
you'll be surprised. So,
Totally. And I think sometimes that's the hard part is the timing. You know, it's we're all anxious, we're all excited, we're all wanting this. And sometimes just the timing of it all and how long it can potentially take is hard.
right, and there's so many times I've told my husband, I'm like, "I wish sometimes you could change the perspective of these doctors." Like, when people come in and say, like, "Not pregnant yet," and they're like, "Well, wait a year." Like,
Mhm.
no, because sometimes it's too late, like, for some people, you wait a year. Like, what is the problem with running a basic panel fertility panel for someone if they
Yeah.
for 2 months and they're not pregnant? Like, so there's times where I wanna, like, advocate even more and just be like, let
Mhm.
some, because I had a gut feeling, and my gut feeling was right,
Mhm.
and there was
Yeah.
nothing else. I'd had no issues, never knew I had cyst, nothing. No abnormal abs nothing. So
Mhm.
I was shocked that day, and but
Yeah.
also not shocked because I just had a gut feeling. Like, I just,
Mhm.
for whatever reason, always had this little gut feeling, but was like, whatever." And then you start telling people your story, and it starts to get in their head. They're like, "Well, what if I have issues like you? Like, I need to be." And so I wanna tell you, start like, let a woman get a basic, and I love these companies that where you can order, like, these tests now and do it at home, kind of, and, like, send it off, because 'cause I'm like, finally, people can at least get those answers because, like I said, it's not a fun time every single month waiting to see if I'm pregnant, and it's lonely, and you start to feel like you have to walk out and tell your husband or your spouse or anyone, like, "You're not pregnant again,"
Mhm.
and it's
Yeah.
a dark, lonely tunnel, and, yeah, I just don't I'm like, I just wanna advocate for so many people and, like, literally go to these doctors and be like, "No, it's not as easy," or
Yeah.
so, and we are fortunate, we've never had a miscarriage, like, and that's another thing
Mhm.
that put it into person. I'm like, yeah, none of my family, but I'm like, I have sisters that had miscarriages or
Mhm.
things like that. So, like, yeah, can they get pregnant? Absolutely. But, like, they had a hard part with
Mhm.
that. That never happened to me.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm like, let these people, like, if someone comes in after a month and just says, I want a panel of what, let them have it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
doesn't,
I feel the same way, and it's so important. I think you're so right that to be an advocate for yourself and to listen to those gut feelings and to let the doctors know about them
or
because 'cause
the
they're
people
not
that are
gonna.
like, just stop stressing and keep trying. I'm like,
Mhm.
you know what it's like to tell someone that really wants it to, like, stop testing their LH every month and, like, saying if they ovulate, like, no. We are humans, we are a creature of habit, and when you want something so bad, you're gonna do whatever it takes.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
totally.
and so, like, I tell people when they're like, "Oh, we've been trying," I'm like, Go lie to that doctor and tell him you've been trying for a year and a half, because it's not gonna change anything right now. It's not
Yeah,
gonna change
yeah.
anything. It's not gonna change the outcome of getting a baby. And blood work's
Mhm.
not gonna change anything or, like, just jumping the gun, but, like, at least get the blood work and find out if there is something going on.
Yeah, at least so you
Um,
can be aware. Cause
and,
yeah,
like,
cause that
send
was
your husband
us.
to get a
Yeah.
sperm analysis,
Mhm. Yeah.
there's nothing, and you have to have referrals for everything these days. Like, I remember my husband
Mhm.
needed the referral to get the sperm analysis, and I was like, "Why? Like, why can't someone just get it just to cross it off the list and say, 'Okay, let's keep trying then,' instead of just keep trying, it'll happen." I'm like, "No."
Totally. Like, now that we're talking about this, I hadn't even thought about this, but it just makes sense to, like, even when you're wanting to start a baby or trying to have a baby, like, to go to the doctor and just get these tests ran
Right.
just as a
You have
starting
pain somewhere in your
place.
body and you go to the doctor and they do scans to figure out what's going on. Why,
Yeah. Yeah, that would be so smart to do, and I think that definitely I'm gonna join with you in advocating for that because I think
Yeah.
that would be really a great thing for so many, and it would leave a lot of uncertainty and stuff off the table and help people know, different avenues to go, so that
Especially
could
in
be
these
amazing.
situations too where it is being talked about more and fertility is being it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to not, I know people that don't tell their story and they just act
Mhm.
like the baby was naturally conceived and they just kind of bury. And I'm like, it needs to be
Yeah.
talked about. And people need to talk about miscarriages. People need to talk about these things because it'd be so lonely, but also like get the word out so that maybe we can make a change for healthcare and
Mhm. Yeah.
you can do anything else you want in healthcare. So why can't it's just not fair to someone that wants something so bad to tell them keep going, it'll happen. And no, like I remember going in for my um a second or that appointment with the second doctor and them being like, "Yeah, your doc's like he's been doing this a long time. He's gonna get you a baby." And after that month, 1 year progress, I'm like, "He didn't get me a baby." Like, nope. Which I will give so much credit to the reproductive doctors. They have no filter. They give it to you as is. They,
Mhm.
if they'll give you the statistics, but I remember them being like, "No, there's not good hope to this," or "No, this isn't gonna happen. Nothing's gonna change." And I remember being like, "Okay, great. Thank you for not beating around the bush. Thank you for
Yeah.
laying it out because they know how expensive it is. They know
Mhm.
everything." And I'm like, that needs to be, and like maybe gynecologists and OB, they need to be more familiar with all of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
I think that would be really beneficial.
that world, they just don't know much about that world, which you can't blame them. But I'm like, go to CE course and learn about infertility, please.
Yeah, yeah.
Go learn
Help
about
us all out here.
go learn about IVF for a day.
Oh
Just
my
because they,
gosh.
you get back to them and
Yeah.
they're just like, "Oh, I don't know." And I'm like, "Well, am I high risk? Because I did." And they're like, "I don't, no, I don't think so." And I'm like, "What do you mean?"
Mhm.
So yeah, just
Yeah.
advocating. I love spreading the word now for other women. Adopt anything. I'm just like, it needs to be out there. It needs to be talked about. And no one should
Mhm.
ever feel lonely, ashamed, at fault, anything like that.
For sure. When you were finding support groups and stuff, how did you find those? So if someone's, like, looking for support groups and
Um,
others out there.
I I don't recall exactly. I remember just putting in like an IVF group on Facebook, and I think the group is called IVF Support Group. And I joined it. And, there's the search bar where you can literally just search, like I would search like cyst or
Mhm.
search birth control, and it's just, all these women are doing this because of that reason. Oh, because I had like this little monitor when I was actually trying naturally. And I was in
Mhm.
that group where people would
Mhm.
like share what they did. So I was doing everything they did. And so I was like, there's got to be a group for IVF. Did that. And then there's a group called Pregnant Through IVF. So I joined that after I got pregnant. And then, the whole mosaic thing.
Mhm.
Um, which, like I said, there's a girl from one of the Bachelorette shows, did IVF, and she's in that mosaic group and had couple normal embryos transfer on, none of them worked, transferred her last 2 mosaic, and that's all she had left. They worked, she has twin girls, like, and they're perfectly
Wow.
and, like, there's doctors, there's all these people, and, like, it's just great because 'cause you're like, there's so many people in it, and it's just getting the word out more and more. But I think that's what helped
Mhm.
me the most is those groups because you're finding real women or men that
Mhm.
have a story, have a testimony, and you can relate.
Mhm.
You can gather all the pieces from other people and kind of put yours together.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah, for
never
sure.
fully even got, like, a diagnosis through IVF
Mhm.
because
Okay.
they can't diagnose endometriosis without a
Mhm.
laparoscopic, and,
Yeah.
so I always just got the, "I think this is what it could be," or "We know
Mhm.
with these numbers, but blood work numbers can change. Like, I never got a full I mean, I diagnosed myself, and I'll continue to do that 'cause
Yeah.
but I never got an actual diagnosis.
Yeah.
And I the
Totally.
I think of our friends now, they don't have any answers. They have been aggressive and, like, advocated and gotten sperm and gotten blood work and all that, and nothing. There's nothing wrong. And she's like, "Why? Why?" And I'm like,
Mhm.
I at least knew I had a reason. So I can't imagine being in that person's shoes or just the people that have a baby the first time and then can't get pregnant again and they have to do fertility treatment. And I'm like, why? Or can't have a baby and then have one natural the second time. And I'm like, why? Why? It's so much
Mhm.
unknown. And I think it's just God.
Yeah.
God is the one in control and he's the plan. And they can do as much research and what they can, but I think it's just God, and we'll never know. I'll never know. Like, I want answers. I wanna know why you did
Mhm.
everything in the fertility book to get pregnant naturally, and then that happened,
Mhm.
But it's just God, and that's what my
Yeah.
husband and I say every time. We're like, "Just God." And when we found out we were pregnant with my son naturally, he was like, "God's funny. Like, he's got a sense of humor." And I was like, "Yeah." Like, you could say so, and he was like, "This is a sen" and, like, this has nothing to do with anyone else. There's no other forces. Like, this was you have to believe in something at this point,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
we were believers, but I'm like, you really it'll open your head where you're just like, wow, like you're right. There is nothing nobody has the answer. There's no other explanation.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, well, thank you so much for
yeah,
sharing
of
that.
course.
Angie, you've seriously been amazing, and it's been incredible hearing your story, and you've shared so many nuggets of wisdom. Is there anything else you'd like to share for those going in the thick of it or about your story?
And like I said, that Facebook group helps. I'm gonna look it up right now. I believe I got out of it after
Okay.
got pregnant.
Mhm.
But yes, it's called something through IVF. It's just a Facebook group. And like I said, I just utilized that little search bar and it would
Mhm.
pull up anytime anybody put any of those words you put in that search bar. And I would just, like I said, I wouldn't have been able
Amazing.
to advocate for myself with the birth control once we started. Finally, we're able to start.
Mhm.
And I could have been delayed
Yeah.
even longer, anything. But I advocated. My doctor was like, I don't think that's the case. Like, birth control didn't do
Mhm.
that, but okay. But I'm like, nope, there's two women out of the 50,000 in this group. 'Cause I did my rate and that's just what my gut's telling me. So my advice would
Mhm.
be find support groups, find actual people, stay off
Mhm.
Google, stay off WebMD, all of that is scary.
Mhm.
Find people, women that this happened to, that can tell you their story that and you can put all the pieces together. Advocate for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
Because if I
You
never
do.
did that, I would never things could be totally different. But you have to
Mhm.
advocate. You have to doctors treat people just like it's a line of people coming right through, and what works for one person may not happen for the other. Or like I said, I'm that
Mhm.
rare person where clearly birth control does opposite, and that's I naturally conceived with it, probably still in my body. My hormones were probably through the roof and the cyst and everything. So I'm that rare case where birth control doesn't do what it does for 98% of the other women in the world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just have to advocate because they're gonna treat you like it works for every other person.
Mhm. Yeah.
And just stay hopeful, stay positive. I I I just wouldn't let myself get too deep and too dark. Um, but do your research. Like, everyone's always like, "Get out of those groups, stop looking up stuff." I'm like, "No," because it helped me, like
It's what got you through it.
and I don't know what certain times what it was that did it. Was it the trigger shot? Was it the Castro pack? I don't know, but it
Mhm.
worked, and every time I would just go into an appointment and be like, "This is what I found, this is what I've gathered." And they kinda laugh
Mhm.
at you like, "Okay, a Facebook support group?" And you're like, "Yeah," with a ton of other women that have been through it. So,
Yeah.
that's my advice there, and talk to people, reach out, even if it's just a stranger, reach out, ask them for their story because I can guarantee they're gonna wanna tell it. I thought I would never
Mhm.
in my wildest dreams speak of it again when I went through the thick of it. I thought
Mhm.
after I got pregnant and had my baby, like it would be a thing of the past. And now I love talking about it, and it can feel so dark
Oh.
and everything in the thick of it, but I remember someone telling me it will be a distant memory one day, and you
Mhm.
will be so thankful, and that day came where I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, I wanna call those doctors and just like, thank you, thank you, thank you." And I love telling the story now, which in the thick of it, I did not. I was just like, "I never wanna look at
Mhm.
another injection again. I never wanna talk to another doctor there again." Like, and you
Mhm.
you come out on the other side, and it's distant. Like, sometimes, the friends going through it, and they're like, they say a name of the medicine, and I'm like, "Oh, I remember that Minipure medicine, like, that's still in the burn,
Yeah.
but, like, it's funny now." And I'm like, so, yeah.
Oh, thank you,
But,
Angie.
I would love to share my Instagram if anyone ever does wanna reach out for
Oh, that would be
help.
amazing. Thank
No,
you so much.
every woman's story is different, but like I said, you gather pieces from everybody, and it could be your story.
Totally.
So
Yes.
my Instagram name is Angie period White, underscore 1089.
Oh, thank you so much, and I'll make
Yeah,
sure to link it in the description below
perfect,
as well. Thank
perfect,
you
and
so
thank
much for
you.
being
This
open
was
to
such a
doing
great
that.
opportunity. I'm, happy to have my story out there, and, like, I think I told you when we
Oh.
first talked, like, I wanna scream it from the rooftops now. Like, I just want women to never feel alone, no one to ever feel alone, and to know that there's someone out there that has the same story as them.
Oh, I'm so grateful for that. Thank you
Yeah,
so much, Angie, and
of
for sharing
course.
your story. And I feel the same way. It's like that's why I wanted to start this all is because I never wanted anyone to feel alone. I felt so blessed to be in a community that actually had a ton of people going through fertility and realized that's not common.
Right.
And so being able to hear stories from other women and men and what they've experienced is what got me through it. And I'm grateful to hear that that was you were able to find that as well, and, that's huge. It's just a huge support to know that I can do this, like, there's hope, keep going.
And the shots are not that bad.
Yeah, yeah,
That
they
was my
really are,
scariest
they really
thing.
are.
They are not that bad. I remember being like, "I get
I
to
felt
start
the same way.
shots?" Like, "Yes!" Like, they are
Yeah,
not that bad.
not
Uh,
as scary as they seemed.
no, and just like I said, give yourself the one day. Here, I have my little second miracle I call them both my miracle babies with 2 different stories. Here's my natural
Oh,
miracle baby.
so precious.
Ay, say
Hi.
hi.
Hello. Thanks for letting us use your mama for a little bit.
Yeah.
She's been amazing.
So, yeah, and like I said, I wanna advocate for people to try naturally. Keep going, keep trying. Um,
Oh.
Whether you wanna not try or try, like, miracles happen. Like I said, 0 to -% chance of naturally conceiving, and that right there was the proof. So, whatever your story may be, keep trying. Just
Oh.
do it all, try it all. Like, I am a true testimony that you just never know what's gonna happen.
Oh, amen to that. Oh, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Angie.
Thank you for
Oh,
having me.
thanks so much for hanging out with us here at the Infertility Club. Don't forget, you got this. For more hope, support, and positivity, watch this next video.